All right, let's move on to our next game here, and let me share the screen back up, and let's talk about our main event when it comes to weather. This is the Monday Night Football event, the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills, and we talked about this game in the forecast synopsis a little bit earlier, but let's break it down again. We're looking at a cold game here. Temperatures in the lower 30s, so right around freezing, with winds gusting out of the west. Sustained winds of 25 miles per hour or greater, with the threat of lake effect snow. And Sean, I was taking a look at this game and trying to look back into our historical archive of weather events. And you know what? I could not find a game where we had temperatures generally in the lower 30s with winds 25 miles per hour or higher. So this is a rare event when it comes to football in the archive, because you could get these strong winds, but usually temperatures are warmer. We usually have milder conditions. This is going to be a cold temperature game with strong winds, and that's going to produce your feels like temperatures are probably going to be extremely cold now because of that. You get that cold air whipping on your skin. It's going to be something that's not favorable. So,
Yep.
Vegas opened this game at 46 points. They've dropped this game down to 42 points now, according to Caesars Sportsbook. Some of the different places you can actually make bets on over-unders are actually even a little bit lower than that 42 point. They're at 41.5. So this is another low-scoring event.
Yeah, I think absolutely it's a low-scoring event. I was actually did a little bit of analysis, total score analysis, and in similar weather conditions, which to Mike said, we don't have a lot of data points for this because we got both cooler temperatures, colder temperatures in the low 30s, maybe even upper 20s. Temperatures are going to be dropping throughout this game as the front passes through. Looking at potentially some lake effect snow. And we have winds 25, 30 miles an hour. These games are not very common. But when I did that analysis, the total score on average for these kind of games, and this is probably even a little bit worse conditions, is in the mid to upper 30s. Now, you have some good offenses going here, but you also have some pretty stout defenses. So I anticipate that this is going to be a little bit of a struggle. I kind of anticipate this game to look a little bit like the Bills-Chiefs game last year. You had these high offenses coming in. Weather just seemed to not benefit the offensive players. And I think with Mac Jones, rookie coming in, going against a really stout, really good Buffalo defense. And then we know that Bill Belichick shuts down your top player. And who is that? That's Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I think they really limit Stephon Diggs' opportunities, making Allen maybe get a little bit more of a higher rushing floor. Maybe he rushes a little bit here, but it's going to be hard to move the ball in this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how well the Patriots can shut down the number one option when it comes to the passing game on the opposing squad. And we see it week after week. So I'm going to take a quick look at the Buffalo Bills Stadium here from aerial view. So, this is oriented from north is at the top of the screen, west is the left, etc. So we're looking at actually a comparison of true north. And you can see how the Bills Stadium is oriented from the northwest to southeast. The winds in this game, if I go back to our wind map and show you on Monday night, you can see how the winds are coming directly out of the west here. So that is more, we do have some bit of a crosswind component here that could potentially impact some of the passing games here, regardless of how well these defenses have been performing. Just looking at breaking down and starting off with the Buffalo Bills here. And starting off with the star of, Josh Allen. Josh Allen is actually, I think he's been ranked the quarterback number 1 of fantasy points throughout this season so far. And I think it's not a consistent, he hasn't been consistently good across each week. It's more about how he has these really big up weeks. And then, if he has a tough defense or if he doesn't play well, he doesn't do as well as expected. So I think this is a game where he may struggle as well. Patriots defense has been giving up the second fewest points to opposing quarterbacks. When looking at some of Josh Allen's statistics, he does have a reduction in his passing game compared to historical normals. But that being said, we do see Josh Allen actually rush more in some of these weather event games. When obviously the coaches know there's some strong winds in the game, we do see Allen actually have more of a floor because of his rushing upside. So while I am nervous about Allen's upside, I do think his floor is actually still going to be pretty safe here.
Yeah, I think I do too. I mean, I think he's going to have a good floor. But I mean, if you're doing DFS for this game, are you paying up? Let's say you're doing a captain's mode or something like that. Are you paying up for Allen in this one? I know when I'm creating my DFS lineup for Monday, we can't do that yet. But when this weekend, when I do make it for Monday Night Football, I don't think I'm putting Josh Allen and spending up for him in this one.
As a captain, it's a tough one. I might actually. I think Josh Allen is probably going to be the chalk play for the captain mode.
Yeah.
On DFS Monday night because he has he does have that rushing upside. He's still going to be getting the ball most of the time. He's going to be facilitating the offense through him. You could take a risk and try to go with the running backs for Patriots though.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, let's talk about that. The running backs for the Patriots, right? We have Damian Harris, we have Stevenson as well. I mean, who are you going with in this one? Who are you putting your money on? I mean, this seems like, again, the typical Bill Belichick, kind of a rotating door of running backs in where you not necessarily know who's going to get a bulk of the load for the given game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. It seems like they were pretty evenly split last week, though Damian Harris got the goal line rush in and got the touchdown in there. You hear the Bills defense and you get a little nervous. I just want to point out that Tre'Davious White is out of this game, so there is a little bit more opportunity for the Patriots offense to do a little bit better here. You think that the Bills rush defense, it looks good on paper. There's only 5 teams that are allowing fewer rushing yards per game than Buffalo, and 6 teams have seen fewer rushing attempts against them since 2021 or in 2021. And no team has been giving up any lower expected points added per rush than Buffalo through week 12. However, when Buffalo goes against some really good run offenses, they seem to struggle. And we saw that with Derrick Henry with his 143 yard and 3 scores against him in week 11. I'm sorry, was that week? No. That was week 6. Excuse me. And then Jonathan Taylor played in week 11, and he exploded for 185 rushing and 5 total touchdowns.
Yeah.
That was his 5 total touchdown game. So we've seen good rush offenses do well against Buffalo, and that makes me feel better at playing Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson. I think Damian Harris will be the goal line back, and I'd like to play him for his potential in getting those rushing touchdowns. But Stevenson seems to me like the more explosive back,
Yep.
and he may have that opportunity to go off and get those higher yard totals.
Yeah.
So I think both are decent plays.
I agree. And to your point, right, Buffalo only gave up 44 yards to the Saints last week, but in the last 3 on average for Buffalo has been 126 yards. And this rushing attack we see can move the ball. And so yeah. I'm okay. I have Stevenson. I'm debating starting him in this matchup. And you got to think about you have Mac Jones in this one, right? Rookie QB playing in really adverse weather conditions. We do have a little bit of stats. I mean, he has played in some weather games just being a rookie. And we do see, especially in windy games, that his stats do look to fall off a little bit. I mean, it looks like it's a statistically significant drop-off for Jones. So if we have cold, we have wind, and a tough Buffalo front, maybe they rely a little bit more heavily on their rushing attack. I wouldn't be surprised if Bill Belichick just slow plays this, trusts their defense, and just tries to run down the clock and really just hands off the ball. And we could see maybe a running back with 15, 20 carries in this one.
Yeah, so Damian Harris, I was looking at his career attempts per game, which is right around 13.8. In games where there's windy conditions, we actually see a significant increase in rushes attempts per game up to 18.6 or right around 19. So he gets an extra 5 carries per game in windy conditions. And I guarantee it's because of that scheme of the coach trying to mitigate the pressure off of his quarterback and putting more of the load on his running backs. So I think that both these guys have upside in this game, especially because we're going to see an increase in volume.
So what about the Buffalo running backs then? That's a little bit, you got Zach Moss, you got Singletary, you got Breida. Like, who are you going with here?
Yeah, so Zach Moss was a healthy scratch last week. He was inactive. So I think he's been demoted. For whatever reason, he's been demoted, and we're seeing Matt Breida now step into that role. Devin Singletary had the bulk of the work last week, had 14 rushes, I believe. But Matt Breida has been looking like the better running back, getting those bigger plays and getting the touchdowns. So to me, I'm not playing either in this, but in the sense, if you're going to take a DFS dart throw, I'd probably go with Matt Breida. He's probably going to be lower priced than Devin Singletary because he doesn't get as much volume. But the Patriots give up the 15 most fantasy points to running backs. They're really good on defense when it comes to against the quarterbacks play. I think Bills have been giving. Sorry, the Patriots have been giving up the second fewest points to quarterbacks and wide receiver, or fourth to wide receivers, but they're mid-level pack in rushing. So I think the attack here is to get them on the ground.
Yeah, and we see about a 15 to 20% increase in opportunity and point production for running backs in similar weather games. Again, this is even a little bit more of an extreme event, so I would not be surprised to see maybe Breida and Singletary get an increase in the workload. Because the other thing, when we're talking about the receiving, we've got Stephon Diggs, we got Emmanuel Sanders, we got Jacoby Myers, we got Kendrick Bourne as our wide receivers in this one. Are you excited about any of the wide receiver options going into this one?
I'm definitely staying away from Stephon Diggs just because you do see his lowest yards per reception in windy games throughout his career, and the Patriots are just a really good offense. If you're looking at other players like Emmanuel Sanders or Cole Beasley, those maybe the shorter passes, maybe Cole Beasley gets a little bit of opportunity there, and especially the number 3 option. So I think he has a little bit of opportunity to get a floor. But I'm not super bullish on anyone in the wide receiver core, especially as you get into the number 1 option there. But with Tre'Davious White out in this game, there does open the possibility for the wide receiver Patriots to do decent, right? I mean, Jacoby Myers and Kendrick Bourne specifically. If I had this option in our spreadsheet: start one, sit one, and cut one. Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby Myers, Nelson Agholor. How would you do that, Sean?
I would be keeping
starting, sitting, and cut.
Starting, sitting, and cut. I would be starting Jacoby Myers. I would be cutting Nelson Agholor, and I'd be sitting Kendrick Bourne. What do you think?
Yeah, go ahead. I agree with the Nelson Agholor cut. I would actually start Kendrick Bourne over Jacoby Myers just because of how well he's been playing over the last few
years. He is, but he's had the thing with Kendrick Bourne, right, is when he is out in the field, they look his way and he's getting the touchdown opportunities. My fear there is he's having less opportunity. He's not on the field as much. So in this game, I want somebody out in the field a little bit more often. That's Jacoby Myers. We know he gets those targets. Obviously, he doesn't have the touchdown upside. I think he's 1 touchdown this year. It's just he just can't get in the end zone. But I do trust that volume a little bit more as opposed to Kendrick Bourne. Again, when he is out there, they're looking his way, and he's had games where I think his last game, did he have multiple touchdowns in his last game?
He did. He had 20 points.
Yeah, he killed it, right? I want to hold him I just don't want to play him in this game. I want to keep him. I think he has potential. I just don't want to play him in this game against a tough Buffalo defense in bad weather conditions where I don't know if they're going to be able to hit on that big play to Kendrick Bourne for that touchdown upside.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's fair. And then, switching over to the tight ends here. We have Dawson Knox on Buffalo. Hasn't seen any real games like any similar weather conditions in his career since he's taken on his larger role this past year. And looking at Hunter Henry, Henry's been playing decent. He's been getting touchdown. He gets some of the targets in the red zone. Bills have been giving up the 6th fewest points to opposing tight ends. That being said, but this is the first year with the Patriots, so his historical splits in weather games are probably not representative to where they were when he was back with the Chargers. So I'm a little hesitant on Hunter Henry, but I do think that Dawson Knox has an opportunity here to get a little bit of an upside, and I think he's going to have those red zone looks again this week. So both tight ends, you could probably play him, and I'd probably target Dawson Knox over Hunter Henry in this one, but that's just a gut call.
Yeah, I think they're both going to get some volume in this one. I think we're going to see Mac Jones drop it off quite a few times, and I would expect Hunter Henry to be beneficiary of that. And same thing with Dawson Knox here. I mean, he could get 10 targets in a game or 1 or 2 targets in a game. You just don't know with Dawson Knox, but he did get 2 touchdowns in his last game. He is looked at the red zone. So, Mike, your point of that touchdown upside is there, and really Hunter Henry has that same upside as well. I'm willing to play them. We still statistically look at a drop off in these kind of weather conditions for tight ends, but these guys, the quarterbacks, definitely look to and definitely have the touchdown upside.
Yep. Okay, and let's finish off here with the kicking game. We think about these really windy events, right? Being, as the ball goes up high in the sky, it's going to have an opportunity to be interacting more with winds, right? Especially strong winds. Nick Folk, kicker for the Patriots, is actually the highest scoring kicker of the season with 140 points this year. The next closest kicker is 108 points, and that's a tie between Carlson and Tucker. So Nick Folk has been extremely valuable this year, and you have to worry a little bit about the wind in this one because it is a little bit of a cross-component wind with Nick Folk. And you'd expect that, with some of these passing attacks stalling because of these winds and maybe the rush game slowing down, you might have more opportunities for field goals in this game. You typically see these low-scoring games have more field goal attempts. So, Sean, do you have any concern about either Nick Folk on the Patriots or the Buffalo Bills kicker Tyler Bass?
It's just, Tyler Bass has that history. We've seen him in some weather games. What comes to mind for me is that really windy playoff game against the Ravens, and he missed 2 or 3, maybe even 3 field goals. What I anticipate in this one is, again, I envision that there will be some stalled drives in the red zone where they'll kick field goals, and if these are short enough, I don't think there's going to be an issue, but if we're longer out, one or two things are going to happen, right? Either if they attempt these field goals from 40, 50 yards, either they're going to miss them or the coaches are going to decide maybe to go for it or even maybe do a pooch punt during in that yardage. And the kickers are not going to have the same opportunity. So I'm a little bit hesitant. If you have a better option, I'd be going in that direction. I just don't think they're going to be as confident going for these longer field goals. We do see about a 15 to 20% drop off and make percentage for field goal kickers when you're approaching that 45, 50 yard mark. And I just think that the coaches may either go for it or just pin the other team deep because they're going to trust their defense.
Yeah. So the one thing I want to mention here for Nick Folk in his career, it does seem like, at least looking at historical standards, winning games has not really affected him all that much. His career average field goal percentage is 82.3. Winning games, it's 82.7. So there's really, even while it's a slight increase in percentage in winning games, it's not statistically significant. So to me, I suspect that the Patriots will still try to attack some of those longer kicks with Nick Folk. I don't know if he's going to connect, but historically he hasn't done horribly. For Tyler Bass, yeah, I think what Sean mentioned is probably true there in that regards, and they'll probably try to go for it more, especially with the upside of the offense in Buffalo Bills going against the tough New England Patriots. And Sean, who do you think wins this game here? Man. I mean, this is going to be a grinder of a game. This is a big implication for playoffs. What do you think happens here? I
mean, this game is so razor close right now. It's, as you mentioned, like a 42 and a half over under. The Bills are favored by 2.5. This is almost a scratch play here. I think I'm going to be taking the Patriots in this one. I think Bill Belichick is going to come in. He has a game plan. He's used to this weather. I know this is a road game for him. I think they're going to play tough. I'm really liking what Mac Jones has been doing lately. I think he's going to manage this game. He's going to make less mistakes than Josh Allen, and I think this is going to be close. But I have the Patriots over the Bills reluctantly because I want the Bills to win.